Also, Nappy says life advice from Chaos 101. Taking notes right now. Now, Chaos, is there
There you
actually like a bit? Okay. Besides this, just like, what is one thing when I say like, what advice would you give to people? What would that be? I guess like one thing that pops up instantly. Also,
Let me
along with sneaky in-house notes.
let me think about that for a second. I mean, that's a really good question. There's a lot of good stuff, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, right? Like, Lord knows I consider myself to be pretty much a novice in a vast majority of the things about life because, like, everyone is. Um, I think the thing that I always try to remind myself, and it's like kind of silly because I took a psychology class in college. I promise this is relevant. I took a psychology class in college that taught me about the fact that there is, for a long time in your youth, in your childhood especially, the concept of the invisible, ever present audience, um, which leads people to believe that everyone is watching them and that everything they do matters, and like it all comes back to like every action that you take in life is monitored and watched and everyone else cares. And I'm still waiting for the day when I do not care about what everyone says about me. I think that that's going to be amazing, and I would love deeply to not care what people think about me. Um, but acknowledging the fact that the invisible audience is actually a thing, and that oftentimes you can get caught up in the idea that there are people like that care about everything you do, and that in itself is just kind of a part of growing up, and they don't actually necessarily care all that much, and they're way more invested in their own lives than yours. um, can be really nice, actually. So I guess like give yourself credence to make mistakes and the opportunity to feel like no one is going to care if you make certain mistakes. Um, and if you do make the mistakes, then take the opportunity to learn from them and don't feel anxious about continuing to make mistakes because that's how we learn. Um, that is advice that I would give to others because it is advice I would give to myself. I'm still trying to learn that.
Also,
So,
it's like it's really important to be able to always get a backup from your mistakes because there are people who will always flawlessly, go through life. Some people will go like through their perfect life not making any mistakes, but then one day, that one day they like slip up just a little bit. They might not recover from it. And like it's like first times are always the worst thing for anything. And and it's like how do you come back up from that? That's the hardest thing. So once you're able to get back up, it's like it's not that big of a deal. Like I think for me, when we're talking about like, the invisible audience or just like mistakes and our perception of it, I think one thing that pops up to me instantaneously was like, Chaos, do you remember when I failed college classes?
yeah.
God, that was so nerve-wracking because one, it costs money, and two, it's just like, I wanted to be in this major, and I knew nothing about it. Didn't do any research, but I just said, you know what? I'm still gonna do it. If I really want this, I can do it. And moved on, got up, still freaked out, but still was able to like learn how to calm down and just do it. That's the only
I
thing.
mean,
Hmm?
go for it.
No, that's it. We'll say for now.
For sure. And that's important, right? Like life goes on, right? I This is going to sound really silly and very self-centered. And so please pardon me while I do this humble brag. Um, I was like a couple of grade point averages away from graduating with honors.
Ooh.
Just a tiny, tiny bit. And if I had taken two classes pass no pass instead of letting them get to a point where I got like a C, I would have been able to graduate with honors. And I realized that too late, and there was nothing I could do about it. And graduating with honors doesn't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things, in at least, the field that I'm in. Um, but it still stings because there's a lot of folks that I grew up with that, have on their resume, have on their whatever, like, graduated from incredible college with honors and did yada, 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 and is going off to do whatever. Um, and on the one hand, you have to sit there and be like, okay, we learned from this mistake. We actually take initiative in the future when you care about something to, fix the problem before it becomes a problem, like taking the class pass, no pass, you dummy. And I will always kick myself for that. Um,
Like,
but
again, fun fact, with college classes, you can take them pass or no pass, because, like, you really, sometimes you don't even need to care about the grades. It's just about passing the class, moving on, and that's it. And pass or no pass is just, what grade do you need for pass or no pass? I forgot.
not a failing one. That's
Oh,
all it is. You just need to not fail the class and you will pass. I believe it's above a D.
oh, okay. So D plus, or does it have to be C minus?
I think it's a D plus, but it could be a C minus.
Okay.
It may be just not an F. I never looked too far into the details of it. But that in its own right is the whole thing of it, right? You need to. That is a mistake that will haunt me for the rest of my life because there's nothing I can do about it, and I have to accept that and be like, all right, so in the future, when there's something that I might care about, I need to actually take action on that and take initiative to make sure that it doesn't do this because there is nothing I can do about it in post.
It's also like the idea of opportunity. Like the whole fact of, like, if you don't take it at the moment, the door might close. Opportunity is a
Yeah.
fickle hoe.
Oh, for sure.
Because,
No,
like,
she's a
because sometimes
she's a
it's like,
pivot.
oh, this door, right? It's a blue door. You like blue doors. But, but you feel like maybe that's not the one. But it makes you seem like you really want it. But then opportunity comes again, and it's like, that's the actual door that's better. And it's funny because it's like, it's all about perspective within the moment of when you need at that point in time. Like,
No, I mean,
sometimes the opportunity
yeah,
will totally mess you over, and sometimes it's really good for you, but there are better ones.
it's true.
It's like there's always gonna be better people to go into houses for. Not like to sneak in and like rob or anything. To go with like
What?
a sneaking
I
house
don't
to
think that
notes.
was ever the intent.
But
Pretty sure that was not the plan.
just to clarify it, just real quick, Um, but like
Jeez.
that, there
Yeah,
will be better houses to enter and to be there longer, or places to go. Like maybe there's this really good restaurant to go to. I'm making this analogy a lot longer than it needs to be, but it is what it is.
it's all right. It's all right. As long as you get where you need to go.
Yeah,
I also think that, like, uh, how do I put it?
I'm gonna kiss
I
my
need to
sister's too.
constantly remind myself that it's not a straight line, right? Like, you can have the best laid plans, you can have everything all set up and all planned out, and it's going to be great, and you know exactly where it's going to go, and then COVID can hit, and you lose the last year of your college experience to being inside, right? And there is nothing that you can do to plan for that. There is no discernible thing that would have prepared you for a pandemic, a global pandemic that shuts everything down. Um, and in that regard, everyone says like your career path isn't a straight line, your life path isn't a straight line, and you can say that over and over again, right? But until you actually experience it, it's really hard to accept that. And I think that it's important to take stock of like where your life has been and what curveballs it's thrown at you, and acknowledge the fact that, like, oh, it already hasn't necessarily been a straight line. It's there's been twists and curves that I didn't even realize were curving because I was just walking.
To excuse my language, but for emphasis and for the rare scenario, but like, it's about the fucking journey. enjoy the journey. It doesn't matter where you end up in the end. Like, as long as you get to a place where you're happy with, like, the adventure is the whole fun part of the whole like journey in the first place. Like,
And, it's also important to take stock of yourself and determine to yourself if the destination is important to you. Like, that is important, right? Like, because I don't know. Yes, it is about the journey, right? I don't deny that at all. I think that there's a lot of learning about yourself and learning about life that is 100% about the journey. But I know for a fact that for me, like, the destination is important. I think that, like, thinking about hitting those milestones does matter to me. And I need to take that into account so that I can acknowledge when I'm going too far in a direction and being like, all right, freaking pull yourself back. You don't need to be speeding to the finish line this fast. Or to be like, okay, so this journey's been fun, but let's get back on track, right?
sorry, Nabi was saying the view is such a perfect setting for this convo. I'm literally just out here fishing on my island, watching the sunrise. But
I have been wandering in a random direction for the past, like, I don't know. I think that's a ship.
I would say part of the journey, like if you really want to focus a little bit on that destination, it's like a road trip. There are places you want to stop by. You want to make sure you hit those points. And like that's the thing though, like for our whole over our let's say our life is just like a road trip, right? You want to go
Hmm.
home, you might want to go somewhere. Um Also apparently Chaos you got lost in the mic. Oh
Did
no.
I?
Life is a journey. Chaos gets lost in Minecraft. Never mind, I read that wrong. but
I am absolutely getting lost.
but like there are high points. There are things that are gonna go wrong on our way. Your tire's gonna get popped. You're gonna end up in a restaurant, maybe like a nice cute diner. But like each place has like a significant meaning, and it doesn't have to be like the most exciting thing. It's like to be happy about, as long as you're happy with it. And one day, you'll reach a point where it's like that's a good part. I can stop this here, and you can look back of like every little step you've taken. Cause
Referring
gosh,
to it in the context of like a road trip is actually a really nice analogy. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of pit stops that you make, but you know where you're trying to get to eventually.
and some of those pit
And
stops you're like, I'll never do again.
exactly. Thanks. No thanks. Screw that. Hated that. Never doing that again. Well, so one of the things that I've been talking to my boss about lately, and actually this is a topic that I've been thinking about a lot, is the concept of taking risks. Um, I am a person that has significant anxiety issues and has for many many years. Um, and I have, talked to therapists about it and whatever. It's a thing. Anxiety is a bitch. And I come by it honestly. So whatever. But the point being that my my boss was talking to me the other day about the fact that in a creative profession, for those who are unfamiliar, I'm working as a graphic designer. Um, in a creative profession, it is important to be able to take risks and do things spontaneously because of the fact that, as you experience things that you just weren't expecting to be a part of and fully jump off the bridge into something that's like, whoa, that was not where I expected to be today, but okay, cool. Those experiences are super memorable, and that spontaneity is important. And it hadn't occurred to me how long it had been since I'd just done something spontaneously. I mean, is that something that resonates? Do you feel that?
I feel like, that is something I guess I think about. Not like, how do I describe it? How do I describe it? Sorry, I zoned out part way because I was like, it's peaceful hearing Chaos talk for a bit, and then I was like, I've heard this before, but also I'm like, I'm like, what? Well, again, anxiety is just not fun. But if you are able to find ways to cope with it, it makes it easier. And everybody has different levels about how they can get through it. I think that I've also been going through therapy, but I'm not saying that's gonna be all that works for you. But like, I found my life a lot more chill. I think I'm just appreciating being more introverted than what I used to be. And I think I've taken enough risks at this point that I don't feel the need to take any at this moment. Mainly because if I
Mhm.
do, look, we're gonna redline something at some point. I would say one of I wouldn't say it's like a risk, but taking like a chance to try something that I don't usually do. But like work like lately, I've been more focused on like streaming itself, right? But not like
Mhm.
stream just to stream to play video games, but like actually creating themes, actually like creating thumbnails, not really editing, but I'm trying to get like slowly better with one thing over time. And
Mhm.
like I'm not taking it to like I have to do everything all at once because I would never be able to handle that risk anymore, but like planning out what I need to do. And then one day when I'm ready, I'll take a risk. I'll try out this new thing. But it's not my time anymore currently because I feel like it's not like I messed it up, but I'm just taking a
Totally.
pause to build an emergency net. Like I think that's the thing is like I've already told myself that I'm just not ready for one or for certain things, and I guess I feel like at some point when I'm really bored and driven crazy, I am going to try to take one of those spontaneous risks again. But you know how like we hung out for like my birthday recently? That
Mhm.
was so refreshing. Like the fact that like I don't go outside of my home anymore, and that's kind of sad. But I'm trying to incorporate some actually just getting out and like talking to people again. Like post pandemic, post even though the pandemic has like mostly died out. But like doing things that I enjoy more often that don't relate to me just being inside and planning and planning. Because there's only so much planning DJ can do. Until DJ gets bored of planning, it's like, these plans aren't happening today.
There's only so much I can do here. Yeah, no, that's reasonable, honestly. I the thing that someone asked me, which just kind of got me thinking, um, in the same sort of vein, was like, so what would the you that isn't like anxious, what would that you look like, right? What would the you that you would like to be in your like peak form? What would that be? And the only answer I could come up with, and I still stand by this answer, is the me that would be unapologetically myself, um, just fully committed and satisfied with being the person that I am. And that that was apparently like the correct answer to the question, which was kind of cool. But like it was a fascinating moment of sitting there realizing like, yeah, no, the person that I would really like to be is the person that is unapologetically myself, which requires one specific thing. There is an important benchmark that you need to hit before you can be unapologetically yourself, and that is knowing who you are,
Oh
which
yeah.
is
That's the
way easier said than done.
it's like some people love labels, some people don't. But it's really about finding the answer that works for you. And like to have something as like consistent as saying like this is me of like what type of person do you want to be? I'm not gonna like name out things, but like just really knowing that. And I think I can relate because I think like the past few years, whether it's like I had sunken back into like depression, my anxiety, and like I really did lose my sense of self and like who I wanted to be. And I'm still going with it up and down here and there, but like it feels nice to have a consistent thought that this is me. My depression is not me. My anxiety is not me. There are times where I'll be sad. There'll be times where things are scary, right? And
Mhm.
like in the simplest terms. But I am myself. There are things about me that I love, and these are the things that I want to try to do. I'm being very vague about it because it's just like that's how it's like applied, at least how I see it, and no one else can tell me that, even if they want to try to tell me it. Because in the end of the day, all the people can say what they say, but my worst person to deal with is myself.
You are the person that you will die with. You are the person that you will live with. If you're going to be the person that you're going to die with, then why not actually enjoy the life that you're living with yourself, you know?
Right? But like, it's been kind of nice like learning like what kind of clothes I like to wear, what actually works for me. And like, if no one likes certain things, I'm like, this is not for me, but I can still kill it. And if it bothers you, I'm so sorry, but not really. That's a you issue.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I find often in day to day life that a problem that I run into is I desperately want to make everyone happy in many contexts. I need to find a solution that satisfies everyone in some shape or form and finds a compromise that actually functions. And I have found that that's not always feasible, right? Obviously, you cannot satisfy everyone. In fact, the harder you try, often the worse that gets.
I do remember
But
in the past, one of your like things that you like to have is the thing about being needed.
yeah, absolutely.
And like,
I I appreciate that desperately.
well, the thing is like not everybody's gonna need your help.
Yeah,
Or
I
like
know.
as like the only time you'll ever know is if somebody actually communicates that, or sometimes they're showing signs, but you don't know for sure unless they actually say it.
Nope. I mean, and I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm no longer like, you know, trying to fix people's problems. That's not my job, and it's not something that is really going to be beneficial in the grand scheme. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a therapist, I'm not a life coach, and the best that I can do is lend a caring ear. And I know for a fact that, you know,
There are
that's
limitations.
right. Right? Unless you actually are qualified to be giving advice on life, then the most you can do is give your suggestions and acknowledge what that means for you and what that might mean for them in the context of their life. Um, and I know that. I know that very well at this point. Um, but I've found that in the situations where I'm responsible for something, especially like in the context of work, right? Like you can't satisfy every need that a client has while maintaining your expertise on the subject that you're working for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really hard to accept because it just makes you feel like you're failing. Um, and it's a work in progress, right? You're not necessarily failing, but that kind of unapologetic self thing, uh, I would say, feels like it wouldn't have to worry about that. It feels like it would be more focused on making sure that what you believe is correct than trying to make everyone happy even when you know that the answer may be wrong. I don't know. There's a thin line to walk there.
Maybe I should pass you my books about like how I was getting those self-help books just like to learn about things to help me out. One of the lines was talking about you're wrong, and it's like in some scenarios you're going to be wrong, and that you need to like also recognize that there are times where you just need to learn, and it like you're not gonna be right every single second of the day. No one can be right. Like I definitely am not always gonna have the right answer for the right scenario all the time. There are points where I will be right, but it's also recognizing that there are times where you just are wrong. And
Oh, dude, that's a spider. Being
I
wrong right now looks like getting attacked by a spider. Give me a minute.
okay. But like,
But yeah, go on.
so how you meant? Well, I mentioned like how you have like the thing about like being needed. I think
Hmm.
mine was more of wanted and needed, but more of just wanted. Because
Mm,
it had showed up when we went to college together. It showed up because of a lot of what I was going through, like as a kid, about not feeling wanted, not really like I was just there to be like not like a pawn, but somebody who lacked autonomy, I would say. And through past things, and also good night, Nambi. Thank you for joining, by the way. I'll see you another time. But like, I struggle with that because it was hard. It was hard to like accept myself, to love myself, because it's not the fault. I wouldn't point out fingers, but it laid down to my own beliefs and insecurities. And like I struggle with the idea of communication where I'm like, at this point, you know me well enough. Uh, if like I was if, like a certain way, I would like you to reach out, but that's not the case. Like, sure, sometimes your friends, your family, whoever you interact with will notice the signs, but not anybody's gonna actually notice for always unless you say something, and
It's true.
because no one reads your mind.
Communication is 100% the most important thing that we have,
Oh
and
yeah.
I stand by that. I also stand that I am completely freaking lost, except I'm not. Wait, I know where I am. Holy cow, did I go in a huge circle? Whoa! Dude, I'm incredible. I've got an innate sense of direction. That's
Congrats.
not actually true. I have terrible direction. I'm amazed at myself. Wow. I'm actually pretty proud of that.
But on another note, it's like I feel like I've made a lot of progress to being like wanting, I at least enjoy my own company. Like I don't need to be around everybody to be happy. I can be around one person and be happy, but I need to be really happy just being around myself and like wanting myself, I guess. Because if no one wants you, like you have to at least want to be with yourself. Like, jeez. And it's always the idea of like, as long as you're happy being yourself, I'm not saying you have to be happy to attract other people, but like people will always attract people as long as you're good with yourself. That's it. Like you don't have to be the most positive person to like have people be around. You could be totally negative, totally like a certain way, but as long as you know yourself, people who like you as you are will approach, good or bad.